Well, hey YouTube, welcome back my friends once again to Whiskey 3 Charlie Tango, W3CT, your good old friend Jack. And this is my ham radio journey. So guys, I've been talking to you lately about something that I need for the G90, and guess what? It has arrived. So this is not going to be an unboxing video, but it's going to be much more than that, I hope. Let's go ahead and talk about it right after this. Alright folks, so today anyway, with that said, I've been talking about the G90 not having a memory keyer, right? There's no way to hit a button like the QMX and a lot of your radios out there I see you using. You hit a button and it sends your CQs out. Now, and you think about it, it's not a big deal, and I told you in one of my videos, I mean, I don't mind sending, and, you know, sending is fine to me, but it does get a little relentless. Sending your call sign, you know, 20, 30, 40 times, you know, per activation, or for winter field days coming up, and I want to use the G90, I hope, at winter field day, because I can turn it down. We're going to be doing QRP, so I can turn it down to 5 watts, so... And people would argue that, oh, the G90 is a QRP rig, but from what I understand, QRP is 5 watts and below. So we're going to adjust it down. I'll adjust it down to 5 watts. But that's what I picked this up for, is a memory keyer, okay? A lot of people, or a lot of reviews have been out there about this keyer. But what has not been out there is, I can't really find any videos of anybody actually building this thing. I've talked to a couple people, and the one gentleman was really nice the other day when he was talking about it, or I mentioned it. And he said he built a couple. Oh, he was actually using one on his activation. He built a couple and he bought a couple completed. I didn't really buy this. I told my wife that I saved $20 by buying as a kit, but I didn't really buy the kit to save $20, right? I bought the kit because I like building things and I wanted to try to build one. So, I mean, the savings is nice, but that's not primarily why I bought the kit. You know, I thought about just buying it complete so I can start using it right away. But sometimes using something like an antenna or a keyer, or even you guys out there building the QRP Labs radios, you know, you go out there and you use that radio, you built it. Years ago, just a little backstory, a lot of guys I knew, a lot of hams, were building their own Heath kits. And these were 100-watt radios with tubes. And they would build those radios and use them. To me, when you make a contact or use a device on a you know, a ham outing, or even at your house, if you built your own home antenna and you're making contacts around the world, you did it. And I think that's pretty impressive. So let's go ahead. We're going to start off by opening this box up. I haven't opened it. I wanted to share it with you guys out there. What's in the box? It's very light. I hope there's something in here. And we'll have a look at that. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to move the camera around. And we'll get started by seeing what's in the box. All right, let's start there. Okay, let's have a look at this stuff. Oh, he did send me the blue. He said if you buy this stuff, and they use PayPal, you have to put in there what color you want. I wanted the blue ones. So this is obviously the case. It's very small, smaller than it looks like in pictures. And this is the part bag. Now, with that said, what's interesting about this part bag is there's not one direction in here. Not one direction. It's pretty interesting. So how would you put it together? See if there's anything else in the box. Nope, nothing in the box. Anything else in the wrappers? In the paper? Nope, maybe it's on page 2. Nope, no directions. This is going to be interesting. Look at the receipt here, see if it tells me anything. eBay. Huh. There is not. Oh, manual's at, okay, there is a manual. At hamgadgets.com/PDF, okay? So there is a manual. So if you buy this kit, check your receipt. The manual's on the receipt, right? All right, so I went to the hamgadgets.com/PDF, And I wanted to show you this. Hopefully the glare is not too bad. But it's every manual for everything they sell. So this is a really nice layout. I really appreciate how they got this laid out. Look, they even have some end-fed half-wave kits in here. Some keyers. You can check them out, hamgadgets.com, and see. You know, I know. Hey, Jack, make sure the product works before you advertise. And I paid for this product. This is my product. This is my keyer that I paid for. But it's it is the Ultra Pico keyer assembly with operating manual. This is what we want. This is what she looks like. So, how many pages are there? So what I think I'm going to do is, I do better if I print this step-by-step assembly. Okay, so this is page 14. I need 14, 15, 16, and 17. That's it? That's not bad. 14, 15, 16, and 17 should give me the instructions I need to put it together. So that's all we're going to print for now. We'll just print those pages. Do a custom print job here. We will do, what did I say, 14. Oops. Number locks on. 14 to 17. All right, that should give us assembly instructions. 14, 15, 16, and 17. All right. Print those. Obviously my printer is off. All right, let me come back to you once I get this printed. Okay, so I got the instructions printed out here, and it's step by step, and as I said, there's only 4 pages. All right, so what I'm going to do here, I'm really thinking what I want to do is, instead of recording instead of recording me soldering and doing all that boring stuff, what I want to do is, now I need a clothespin. I hope my wife has one in the basement to hold that on there. But what I'm going to do is, I will actually complete each step and then show you the completed process. How about we do that? And I'll explain to you what I did was when I put these components on here. All right, so let me go ahead. I'm going to get the first part done, which is just installing this battery clip. Should be in here actually. You know what I'm going to do is, I'm going to just take these components, lay it aside here, and lay the components on a piece of paper, just so I can move them around. So this is the battery clip I have to put on there. It's just using a small, I don't know, you call it a button battery. Some people call it a fob battery because they're in fobs or watches. A CR2032, that's what maintains the memory in the keyer. So, but I got to put this on first. This is a battery clip. So let me go ahead and do that. Get this thing installed. I have to go down and see if I can't find a clothespin. I'm sure we have them. And we'll go from there. Okay. All right. Okay. At this point, the battery component or the battery holder is on. You only had to solder these 4 joints on the bottom. Okay. You see the solder on that side, solder on this side. All right. So that's the first step. My wife did happen to have. So if you don't have these, before you start, go to the dollar store and buy yourself a pack of these things. Clothespin holder. It's just to hold the battery on there, so you can hold it on so you can solder it. Also, I just wanted to point out, I purchased these things. I bought a bunch of these for school. I bought this one, and then at school we ordered a bunch for the kids to learn soldering. These things are pretty valuable. The only thing I see about this one, it moves around a lot on the table, but it did hold it pretty well, so I was able to see it. I didn't use the magnifying glass except to check the solder joints, but these things are pretty valuable. You know what I do? I bought this from Amazon, Helping Hands, so I'll put a link in the description below just in case you're looking for one. So the soldering iron is nothing to write home about. This is the soldering iron that I use, or soldering, whatever. I do think it's set a little high. I'm going to take it down, and you guys are beating me up in the comments, but I'm going to solder it. It's set at 300, so I don't really know what the actual solder should be, but we're going to do 300. All right, the next step says locate the paper strip. Locate the paper strip with 3 identical current capacitors in your kit. The paper strip. Well, there's no paper strip. There's a bunch of capacitors here, so I don't know which one's which, but there's no paper strip. Interesting. So which ones are which? Looks like, yeah, I don't know which ones are which. This is going to be difficult. I guess these 3 look pretty close together. No, it's those ones. One of these things don't go together. What the heck? There should be 3 of them. Oh. Okay. These 3 are marked 0.1 UF or marked 103. They're not sensitive to priority or polarity. They're not sensitive to polarity, so you can't install them backwards. Okay, these are small rectangular parts. 2 parallel leads. Yes, I know what a capacitor is. Install the paper with 3 identical capacitors, and they're marked. So now I got to find these, and they're marked. They are marked. Whoa, like I can't see that. What's this one marked? Whoa, that's crazy. Guys, you better have really good eyes when you're doing this. 103. Is that says? 103. That is a 103. That's a 103. So I think this is probably a 103. 103. Okay, this is solved. At least they're marked. And a 103. Eureka. Okay. What's this one marked? This one's marked so small I can't see it. That might be a 102 or 101. That's interesting. That's looks like a 473. I don't know. Okay. All right, so I did locate them, but they should be on a small paper strip, I guess is what they're saying. All right, let me get these put in. They go right here by the battery terminal. So it looks like, whoa, how do they go in there? Well, that's interesting. What? Oh, I see it. Capacitor 1, capacitor 2. The board is set in this way. They go right here. Capacitor 1, capacitor 2. All right, let me go and get those put in, and I'll bring you back. Okay, so capacitor 1, capacitor 2 are in. Soldering joints look pretty good. Okay. Just remember, like I said, I've done a lot of soldering. I'm not no expert at anything here as far as building, but and I teach my kids this, you never want to lay the solder directly on the tip of the iron. You want to put the tip on the wire and just get it heated up a little bit and just touch the solder to the side, and it will actually pull it down into the hole to make the connection. So, all right, that's done. Lay this up here again. Pull out the paper here. Okay. Now you got to find a 14-pin IC socket. 14-pin IC socket. That's the socket right there. Okay. There's the IC. There's the socket. So, what do we got to do here? One end of the socket has a notch to indicate that it is the pin 1 end. They say, guys, I hope you have some really good eyes here. A notch. A notch. I guess that's the notch on that side. Is that the notch? I think they should show you a picture here, close up. Notch. Yeah, it's showing the notch. I guess that's the notch, right? That's not a notch on that side. Although that's a little notch. I'm thinking that's the notch. So that's the pin 1 side. Yeah, that's what it looks like on the paper. Orient the socket so that it notched end matches the silkscreen markings on the board. Okay, look at the board. Oh, there it is. Okay. So there's the notch there. There's the notch here. Okay, that's the notch. What do you do next with it? And that's going to be a lot of soldering, because there's a lot of pins on there. Okay, line up and insert the pins into the PCB. Make sure all the pins go into the holes in the circuit board. You may need to bend the pins. Oh, you may need to bend the pins at any 2 diagonally opposite corners flat against the corner of the PC board to hold the socket into place while you solder. Solder all 14 pins into place. Be careful not to use too much heat or too much solder. Now there you go. There's some words of wisdom, right? So this is going to be tricky here. All right, let me see if I can't insert this IC socket into this board. Okay. All right, let me do that, and I'll bring you back if I'm successful. Let's keep moving on here. Okay, well, the IC socket is in. Soldering wasn't too bad. Like I said, it's 14 points. And all I did to bend, I bent a couple of those pins over just by using these bent needle nose. I just pushed it on and just pushed it over just a little bit. You need to do that just to secure it into place, is what the instructions say. So there's that part, okay? All right. Okay, so the socket is in. So the next thing, install the two 2N7000 MOSFET transistors in locations Q1 and Q3. Make sure the flat side of each transistor is facing the direction indicated by the silkscreen printed outline. Don't try to push them too far. Leave about 1/8 inch or so between the circuit board and the bottom of the transistor to avoid putting too much stress on the leads. Okay? Now they are in actual cardboard. They're right here. Okay? This is them. Let's see where they go here on the board. Let's see where it's showing them. Oh, okay. It goes right here, Q1 and Q2. And you can clearly see on the board the cut sides there. So that's my next step, is to get those put in place. All right. Let me go ahead and see if I can't get those put in. And then I'll probably wrap for the night here, because it is almost 8:30. So we'll wrap it up for the night and come back. Of course, you guys won't see with the power of editing, but it's coming along okay so far. I'm 61. If you guys didn't realize that already, but I'm not as steady as when I was 20 when I was holding a soldering iron. I don't know if I get nervous or what it is, but that's where I want to take my time. I don't need to rush this thing. You know, I'd like to have it built for the weekend and have it working. That would be awesome. But we'll see how it goes and go from there. But all right. So yeah, I'm going to try to get those put in tonight. I think I'm going to wrap it up here and let it go for now. Get the rest of it done another time. So, but I'll get those put in and bring you back in and show you that the results for those. Okay, guys. So as you can see, the transistors, the 2 transistors are installed. They weren't bad. They did say don't push them down too far to the board because you'll stress them. So you just leave them up just a hair. I mean, they go in there pretty easy. You do have to line the holes up. There's 3, and the center lead is longer than the 2 outer leads. And then you just solder them to the back of the board there. So the solder joints are looking pretty good. I'm pretty happy with the board so far. Yeah, you know, fingers crossed it's going to work when I'm done. But I did notice they did send an extra couple capacitors. They sent one extra 103, and then they sent two other ones. And reading the instructions, those are different limiters for the headphone jack. So you can limit the amount of volume coming out of the headphone jack with the different capacitors. So okay guys, the next thing we're going to work on here is getting the speaker unit put in to the board. So this is the speaker it comes with, a little speaker here. You can clearly see the positive marking on the top of it, if you can see that. Try to get some light here to it. You should be able to see it right there. There's the positive marking. Okay, find the speaker and install it in the location marked speaker. Easy enough. The speaker is marked with a plus on one side. Don't worry about polarity, as it can be installed either way. Make sure the speaker is inserted fully into the holes before soldering. Don't bend the leads of the speaker. You may want to put a bit of adhesive tape to hold it while you solder. Don't spend too much time soldering the speaker, as it may be damaged. So you don't want to get it overheated, is obviously what it's saying there. So I'm going to go ahead and install this speaker unit, and we'll have a look at the board once I get that put into place. Okay, at that point I got the speaker in, and I did put a little tape on it just to hold it in place. So I can take the tape off now, since it is soldered. Let's put that aside in case I need a piece of tape. You can see my solder joints there came out really good tonight. Now we're going to do this. We're going to use these little cutters, these little side snips, just to clean it up a little bit. Cut the little pieces off the top of these things. That's what I like to do here. It just keeps the board a lot cleaner. It looks good. So, yep, the speaker's in. Now we see what the next step will be here. All right. So, going to the next page. That's always a good thing, huh, when you turn the page here. Going to the next page. We are going to start. Locate the push button switches S1 through S4. Install the switches one at a time in the marked locations. Be certain each switch is fully seated and the metal base of each switch is straight and flush with the board. It is important to get these lined up right so the push buttons will fit properly into the holes of the cabinet and panel. Well, that sounds pretty important. You can see here the switches, or the push buttons, and there are 4 of those, and here they are. Okay, just a little push button, and they are going into, look at the board here, they're going into this side of the board. Yep, right, that's where it says to go. Okay, so as normal fashion, I'm going to go ahead and start mounting these things and getting these things soldered up. And we'll have a look at the final product once I get it put together. And, well, we'll look at the switches once we get all the switches put in. And I'll get those set up. Just making sure they're all the same, right? Yep, they're all the same. Okay, let's go ahead and get that done. Okay, well, I hope those are straight enough. They're all soldered. Solder joints came out good. I can tell you this last one, I had to put a piece of tape on it. It didn't set in as well as these other ones. These other ones kind of locked in. And then this one I taped just to make sure it was down far enough. But they all look the same height, as far as I can tell. They all look relatively straight, so that's positive. So let's move on, see what the next topic is here that we got to worry about. Okay. Install the speed control. Yep. Potentiometer in the location marked speed. Like the push buttons, the switch must be inserted fully into the PCB so the bottom of the metal bracket sits firmly flush against the PCB. I love these like warnings. Even the slight misalignment here can cause fit problems with the cabinet later, so double check your work. After you solder it in place, tune the adjustable shaft fully counterclockwise. But you know what? This is one of those things, like, you know how you talk about when you're doing carpentry work, measure twice, cut once? Well, it's kind of the same scenario here, right? Placement twice, solder once. Once we get it located to where it needs to be and get it set in there and get it straight and everything, you know, if you need a piece of tape, I've been finding out that the tape is helping to hold the components down to the board, and then go ahead and put your solder on. And this thing has become invaluable to me, even though it's a little lighter, but this helping hand, I'm telling you what, man, you know, not so much the magnifying glass, but these things has really been nice just to get that board set in there and just to go ahead and do your soldering. All right, so let me go ahead and get this in. It's right here. All right, get that placed in the board and get some solder on it, and we'll move on to the next step. So let me go ahead and get that done. Okay, well, that part went on okay. Solder joints are okay. The only thing I can tell you about this, the pedometer, whatever it's called. Anyway, the knob. Let's call it the knob. The knob actually has to be placed in, and you have to bend the pins just a little bit forward to get everything to slide in there. And this says to turn it fully counterclockwise. And it is. It's already fully counterclockwise. All right. Okay, so the board's starting to look like something now, right? Hopefully everything's going together, right? You know, fingers crossed it's going to work. That's my big thing when I'm done with this thing. Okay, what's the next step here? So I guess the next step is install the 3 stereo jacks in the locations indicated on the component side of the board. Be sure to get them fully seated and flush against the board. There are plastic pins on the bottom that will fit into the holes of the board when they are pushed all the way in. Again, it is important to make sure that they are properly mounted straight. If they're not lined up, you will have trouble putting them into the plastic case. And I figured a lot of that is. So that's my next step, is to get these in the board. They're right here. These are the 1.8 jacks, 1.8 jacks that we use, you know, with the keys and everything. So, okay, that's the next step along the way here of building the Pico Automatic Keyer. So let's go ahead and see if we can't get that rolling along. Okay, so I got my jacks put in. 1, 2, 3. I can tell you the jacks seem to set in there easily. Once that pin goes down through to get it flat, they kind of click into place. So what I did, I put all 3 of them on the board first. I laid it down on a flat surface. Okay, I actually used my flux lid, put it down, and that kept them all even and level, and then I put the solder on. So that seemed to work okay. I didn't have any problems getting it on. There is a lot of solder connections there. So, and if you've never soldered before, again, I'm no expert at building anything, but I can tell you just from the electronics course I took years ago, be sure your solder doesn't bridge, okay? When you're putting things together, look at the solder, look at it twice, and take another look at it just to make sure it doesn't bridge. It looks like one of these need to have a little bit more solder on it. Yeah, I think this one right here. Can you see that? I don't know if the camera will pick it up or not. Probably won't focus. But there's one here. I can still see the hole. So I want to make sure that hole's filled in. So I'm going to put a little bit more solder in that one. But then I think we're okay to move on to the next step. All right? Okay. Okay, the next thing on the instructions is C3 is used to limit the amount of audio supplied to the headphone jack. I don't ever plan on using the headphone jack. So what I'm going to do here, it says you can try the 0.47 UF capacitor for audio and try the 0.1 UF capacitor marked 104. If it's too loud, you can lower it down and use a smaller value such as 0.1, which is marked 103, which is what we used before. So that is why, if you look here, yep, and they got, so there's 3 capacitors left, and that's how many I got left on my table. Here's 3. So what I'm thinking of doing is probably, since I'm not planning on using the headphone jacks for anything, I'll probably just put the 103 in it, be done with it, and not worry about it. I don't see any reason to use the headphone jack right now, but it says in here not to solder it, just to kind of bend the leads over. So I can do that. And I don't know if it would work if I don't put it in at all. I guess it'd be really, really loud, I'm sure. So I'm going to go ahead and put that in now and just stick it in there and go for it. So it is marked 103, which I believe this is a 103. It is. It's a 103. So what they're telling you to do is, right here is where it goes, right behind the headphone jack. So you just stick it in there. You can just kind of bend the leads down just to hold it in place. I don't think it's going to hit anything. Nah, it doesn't seem to be. So you just bend it down, and that way you can test it to see if it's loud or if it's too soft for you, and you can change it and put in one of the other capacitors. So I'll probably end up, once I get this together, is probably just solder it in there, because like I said, I'm not worried about the headphone jack. So that is that capacitor. The next thing it says to do, hey, we made it to the last page. We're almost there. Find a PicoKeyer chip and remove it from its protective housing. This is the PicoKeyer chip. We have to look at it really close, because locate pin 1. This end will be marked with a molded notch or a dot. Let me look under the light here. Yep, I see the dot very clearly. You see the dot? Very clearly, okay? All right, so that's the dot. Now what do we do? Pin 1 is toward the left, okay? Orientation is important here. Insert the chip into the socket so that the notch and or dot on the chip are the same end as the notch in the socket. The end closest to the speed pedometer. Okay, so that seems pretty simplistic. So it's going to go in here. This must be pin 1. So let's take the chip out of here, out of its little protective housing. Again, I'm going to look at the camera here. You can see pin 1 by the notch. Place it into the socket. Okay, on this chip, all right, the pins are spread out a little bit wider than that. So push them in just a little bit of pressure, and I was able to get it set down in there right. You can see it there. So I just want to make sure it's all down and snug in there. Yeah, it's pretty good. It's in the contacts. Okay, that's all the way. Might have been one of the trickiest parts yet. All right. The time has come. Now locate the battery and remove it from its protective packaging. Battery, we've seen that during the opener. Okay. Note that the flat side of the battery is marked with the plus sign. This side will be up when the battery is inserted into the battery holder. Slide the battery into the battery holder. If you have done everything right, you should hear the keyer send a 73. The Morse code speaker, congratulations, your kit is completed. Hopefully we don't see any fire, right? So, let me get the battery opened here. So this is if we're going to hear something or not. Or get shocked to death. Did you hear that? Da 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 da. That means it's put together. Hey, Eureka! We got that much. It's saying congratulations, you built me. All right, fantastic. That much is working. All right, next. Now's a good time to mount your keyer in the cabinet. The board is supported in the cabinet by the jacks and the speed control shaft. You may need to trim the pins sticking through the bottom of the board to fit everything in right. And that's what I was telling you when I was trimming everything up with these. These are a good thing to have. You may even want a smaller set. This is all I had available to me, so that's what I used. Take your time and pay attention to get everything lined up properly before closing the box. You may need to trim or cut off component leads to get it closer to the board to get everything to fit right. Okay, so I'm going to take a few minutes. I'm going to do this off camera and try to get everything put in here and get this build put together here and get the case put together, and then I'll show you the finished product. Okay guys, I think one of the hardest things was getting this lined up and getting this in the box. But everything lined up, everything is there. There's some preset codes in here already. And the speaker is very low, so I don't know if you'll hear it or not, but we'll try to get it on the microphone here. So let me see if I can't let you hear this. '73s. Okay. Okay, Roger, Roger. Okay, next thing for me to do then is go in, is to actually, so that's the speaker, which I said that's for headphones. And I'm going to have to look. Oh, T, I guess, transmitter. And this is for your paddles over here on this side. So the next thing for me to do now is, and it's going to be another video because I'm going to have to take this thing and read the directions now on how to configure it. Once I get it configured, my plans is I'll actually show you, I'll walk you through the configuration. Because like I said, I haven't seen much about these kits anywhere on YouTube. So that was the build. And with that said, let me just move the camera around here. We're going to wrap this up and I'll give you my final thoughts. Okay guys, so I'm going to give you the final thoughts of the PicoKeyer that you've been watching this series of me actually building this thing. So, like I said, one of the hardest things was getting this in there and getting the PicoKeyer chip, the IC chip in that socket, getting those lined up. It's not a hard build, so could you build it? I'm sure. If you have a soldering iron, some solder, some snips, and a small screwdriver, you could build this thing. Just take your time. There was no rush. I wasn't rushed to build it. I did want to get it done. I can't wait to try it out. The buttons are a little bit like, I don't know how to explain it. I mean, they're buttons. I guess it'll be all right. It has 4 presets on it that we can use. So there you have it. The knob, I checked the speed controller. The speed controller works. I can turn it up, turn it down, and seems to be okay. I don't know if you can hear it now. Hear how fast it got? Okay, you can turn it all the way down. So there you go. So it does work well. That much of it. Hopefully it'll key. I don't know if it's going to key yet, but that's another step in the process. So it was a fun build, something interesting to do. And like I said, I never know what I'm going to do on this channel, what I'm going to record next. But I know that, or I hope it's going to be interesting to you, and you'll be, it might be something you might want to try. I mean, I have a need for this because the G90 doesn't have a auto keyer or a memory key, so I needed something for the G90 anyway. Alright guys, well thank you so much for watching this video, and again I'll be doing a follow-up video. I'm sure after dinner tonight I'll be up here playing with it, trying to figure out how to configure it next to get my call sign in it, and see if we can't make some QSOs with it later on this evening. Once I clean this little work table off. So guys, thank you again, and thanks for everybody subscribed out there. Guys, I just looked today, and like I said, I'm not really a big numbers guy, but 2,000 subscribers is pretty good for this channel. It's growing pretty nicely. I enjoy all the great comments. I hope you have some comments on this one. If you have better ways of doing things, let me know. Say, Jack, you could have did this or you could have did that. Because who knows, I may build another one just to build it. It was fun. It was a fun project. But let me know in the comments below. I do appreciate that. I appreciate all you guys that have subscribed. Man, I can't thank you enough. It's great. It's great to build a nice little community here. So until next time, this is Whiskey 3 Charlie Tango, W3CT, your good old friend Jack, up here in the Jack Shack. That's pretty cool, huh? Jack Shack. But yeah, 73s, and this is my ham radio journey. And guys, 73s again, and I hope to catch you on the airways. Until next time, bye, and I'll talk to you then. See you later.